Welcome back. Welcome to Double Coverage. Michael Emami.
Asia Cymone Smith.
Sorry, we're sounding like The Rush a little bit. And on The Rush, we talk about stuff, and on here, we talk about stuff. And boy, oh boy, do we have plenty to cover today.
Lots
My goodness gracious. Aside from the Jerome Tang saga, which happened over the weekend, I still can't even believe I'm alive right now after all that. We got Wichita State on a double overtime victory, fresh off from yesterday. An incredible performance from Kenyon Giles. Asia, you weren't there. It was on the road. It was in East Carolina, but a great game nonetheless.
I wish I could have been there because what a game from Wichita State.
Yeah.
Double overtime, and the Shockers pull off the victory over East Carolina. I mean, they beat East Carolina earlier in the season at home, but this one, very special. Now they're 3-1 in overtime this season, and that is tying the school record for overtime games in a single season that they've won so far. So just incredible. And I mean, this win is just another testament to how strong this Shocker team is. We saw so many people step up. They made those clutch shots down the stretch. They stayed alive through 2 overtime periods and came out with a victory. And now Wichita State is really inching closer to the top of those American standings. We know they want one of the top 2 seeds when they head into the tournament. They have a handful of games left, end of the season, March 7th. So a few weeks to go, but they are looking for that tournament seeding position so that they could get a free trip straight to the semifinals, and I think they're on their way.
Yeah, right now as it currently stands, I mean, you've got South Florida leading the pack. Tulsa right now is at 9-5, deadlocked with Wichita State. So this is going to be interesting because right now Tulsa's hanging with him, and they hung with him over the weekend when you were at that game, and that was the best crowd so far this season.
Huge.
So automatic bid to the semifinals if they're the top 2, if they are 3 and 4 in terms of positioning, which as of right now it stands to be Wichita State and Memphis. But stay tuned for that. Everybody right now in that 1 and 2 or in that 2 and 3 spot is 9-5. Memphis is at 7-5 in conference. UAB is the team right after them at 8-6. So it's kind of, they're all jostling for positions right now, and some other teams have games to make up. But as it stands, if Wichita can leapfrog Tulsa, they only have to win 2 games to be in the NCAA tournament, which sounds crazy to even think about, but that is true.
And it really comes to looking ahead at the toughness of the schedule. We got to figure out who Tulsa's going to play. South Florida's at the top of the conference right now. They've been pretty solid there, and even with the Shockers Shockers fell short to them, they were able to pull off a win over Tulsa. So last week was really a pivotal week for Wichita State, and then they kept that momentum with this game on the road against East Carolina after that 2-game home stretch. But looking at the Shockers' schedule, they got Temple, they have Memphis, and they have UTSA. And I really feel like there is a chance that Wichita State could make their way up those standings. And like you said, we might see the Shocks go dancing. That could be a potential. So I think it's all going to come down to these last few weeks. And then as well, just looking at how well they've done so far, and they're trying to, again, get that top seed in the American tournament, because even regardless of what happens with Tulsa, they still have a chance going through that tournament and giving themselves a shot to win it all.
Yeah, Birmingham is going to be a huge storyline that's coming up in less than a month.
Yeah.
So crazy to even come to that realization. But as it stands right now, you got kind of the meat and potatoes of the rest of the schedule, which again, you've gotten Tulsa, you split with them, you split with South Florida, which really the South Florida shouldn't have been a split. That should have been a sweep, because they got the hard win in Tampa, and at home they really should have closed that one out. But they sort of made up for it with Tulsa as it stands right now. But as you talked about, Asia, looking at the schedule, 3rd place, 17-10 in the American Conference. So you've got about 5 games remaining as we head towards the back end of February and into March. Win against ECU, Temple, who they play for the first time on Saturday at home. So a lot to look forward to there. Then they're at Memphis. UTSA should be a win. And then they wrap up the season with FAU at home, the same team they got blown out to in Boca earlier in the year. But I think this Wichita State team has come a long way from where they were even a couple weeks ago, right? You've seen Paul Mills really kind of restructure the lineup in a way that has become essentially 10 times more potent. You've got Kenyon Giles, who is a consistent scoring threat. He can spray you from pretty much anywhere. You've got the Okorafor and Will Berg combo that's been going pretty well. Drake Kindle's been picking up the minutes for the Shocks as well. So, you know, they've overall changed and transformed in the last 2 to 3 weeks into a team that could really contend for a top spot in the American Conference. And as crazy as it is to say, they could be dancing. It's a smaller chance,
Yeah.
probably not like 80%, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the betting lines and all that, but there is a good chance, better than normal, that they could make the NCAA tournament this year. And it's a credit to Paul Mills and what they've done. They could be a 20-win team this season.
Yeah, I really think there is a good shot. Paul Mills and this team has done a great job. And we talked about it earlier, how this is Mills' first full rebuild season. He only had 2 guys who were on the roster last year. This was a fresh slate, and it's a fresh year, and he really put the pieces together. I think Mills did a great job in the offseason, and now we're starting to see, like you said, this lineup switching up and seeing what really works for them. And got to talk about TJ Williams, because he had a 27-point game against ECU. So what a performance from him. On top of that, Kenyon Giles, he's been consistent all year long, and I cannot wait to see him in the American tournament, because I know he's going to be making clutch shots and just everyone's going to go crazy. So I'm very excited to see how he performs. Karan Boyd's been stepping up. Dylan Batee, not his best game this week, but he has, again, been another key player that recently has really started to shine on this roster. So, like you said, Wichita State's put the pieces together. Will Berg, valuable down low, crashing the glass, getting those rebounds on both sides of the court. And I really think that this is a team, like you said, that's figuring things out. They're learning as they go, and I think they really do have a serious chance to have not just a 20-win season, but to also be a conference threat. They've really, really fought their way up those standings, and I think now it's starting to become a chance for them.
Yeah, a serious chance for them to maybe crack that spot. But I also want to mention TJ Williams as well, because he came in off the bench yesterday and had himself 27 points. So great game from him. We don't want to diss that. Obviously, Kenyon Giles gets the 2 hero shots, but this is not a team that is really banking on a hero. This is actually a defense-first team. They rely on paint touches for offense, and they've got some real threats. They're very gritty. They grind you down, and that's sort of the Paul Mills style of offense. It's very different than Greg Marshall and how he kind of ran Wichita State back in the day. But credit to Mills. I mean, he's got a lot of guys like Karan Boyd, who can light up a score sheet a little bit throughout the season. We've seen him do that. We also know how big of a paint threat he is and how big of an outside threat that he is. So I love his recruiting. He's done a great job with these assistant coaches that he's brought in. Couple of bad losses in there this season, but right now they're in perfect position to take what they need, and they've got plenty of momentum on their side too.
They really do. I think they're in a great spot right now, especially the home court advantage has been really handy for Wichita State. We talked about that crowd with Tulsa, over 7,500 people in attendance, and I think coming up they have another home game. So facing Temple on a weekend, I think these are very beneficial for them when it comes to winning through the rest of their season, is returning to the Roundhouse, because the fans have been showing up and that energy has really been proving to show. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this team finishes the rest of the year. But like you said, great position and a great spot they want to be in when we're approaching March.
And speaking of showing up, how about K-State the other night?
Oh,
incredible.
Bless you. Oh, I had to sneeze. I'm so sorry. I couldn't hold it in. It was just thinking about K-State and that big win over Baylor. I got worked up.
I wasn't expecting that, nor was I expecting them to win. But both of those things just happened. So Matt Driscoll, first opportunity, I should say, at the helm in the Big 12, comes away with a huge win over a not great Bears team in Baylor, but impressive nonetheless. The kids got together, they did what they needed to do, and Nate Johnson and PJ Haggerty combining for 6-7 points. I'm not going to do it.
I thought we left that in 2025.
I thought we did.
But it's, crazy. Both of them posting over 30-point performances, and kind of a historic moment for K-State, but also just an impressive game overall, because this was their first win in a long time. I want to say since New Year's.
Oh, it's been a while. So it's been a very long time.
Got that wrong. They had one win against Utah.
But yeah, like 1-10 in conference.
It was their second Big 12 win, in the first game without Jerome Tang. Of course, you go against his former team, and they were playing with fire.
Yeah.
I could have told you, I said this before, but I could have told you that they were going to go out there and destroy Baylor just because of what had happened, losing Coach Tang. And I'm sure there's been a lot of emotions. It's been a roller coaster of a week for this program, and this was definitely probably a I want to say confidence booster or morale booster, I guess, to have this win. But still, kind of a very awkward transitional period for this team with Driscoll coming in. He said, I didn't come here to be a head coach, but, he's stepping up because he needs to.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so much to unpack talking about Jerome Tang's firing.
Yeah, and you were there on Sunday night when this all went down.
Yeah.
It was after the Houston game. It was a very strange 48 hours.
Yeah, it was a pretty rapid decision.
And, we've aired the comments that Tang made that has allegedly got him fired multiple times. He was talking about, he had mentioned that the players don't deserve to wear the uniform. There'll be very few of them back next year. He was very frustrated after that Cincinnati loss, which was a very bad loss, 29 points, I believe. So he had his moment in the press conference there, and Gene Taylor, I guess, was looking with a cause, a firing with a cause in this case, and that was ultimately the cause that had happened. Driscoll and Tang were very close. We're going to get to that story in a second, but right now as it stands for Kansas State, you were right, Asia. Outside of that Utah win, their last victory came against Louisiana Monroe on Sunday, December 28th. So This has been a very, very poor season for a team that had a lot of promise coming into this year. But we want to focus on the positives today because we've been hitting K-State pretty hard. The Baylor win, and with the way Haggerty and Johnson looked, and there are the two right there, Johnson looked so good in that first half, he simply could not miss. The first shot that he made was from deep, was from next to the logo.
Insane.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
And the Wildcats never trailed
in
this game. They had a double-digit lead most of the second half of the game. I mean, it was a revenge. It was coming out with some fire in them, knowing what they'd gone through. Fresh start, fresh slate. I mean, we talked about it last week in double coverage. We said, is Coach Tang going to be here by the end of the season? We both disagreed that he would be there at the end of the season. We never expected it to happen midway through the season.
Right.
But with all the information that unfolded, you mentioned the press conference first after Cincinnati where he said these dudes do not deserve to be wearing K-State on their jersey, and there will be very few of them back next year. Crazy statements. On top of that, Gene Taylor, the athletic director, went on to say that he was deciding when would be, he had been talking about letting go of Tang during that next game against Houston. He had to get permission from the university president. He got that permission and told Tang and the players on Sunday morning. Then the news broke Sunday night. So, I mean, just a roller coaster for a week. And now it's all the conflict about the for-cause firing, because if it's for cause, then K-State can get out of paying him his $18.7 million, which Coach Tang has hired really good lawyers to try to defend and make sure he gets his money. And this is really just like a big conversation as to whether it should be for cause or if what Coach Tang said was okay and that's not for cause. Either way, there's a whole money situation going on, and this Wildcat team really has to be resilient and kind of fight through all of the things that's going on. They have to put blinders on basically and just keep going straight towards the rest of the season. They have a few games remaining as well, and I think maybe a little more hope now that it's a fresh slate and they've kind of snapped that long skid of losing. But I do think it's going to be very difficult for these players to continue adjusting to the situation. And they've got number 13 Texas Tech in Lubbock this Saturday on the road, so that's going to be a test of wills. But I do want to quickly not brush over that Houston game because they looked better in the Houston game. They played better defense in that game against the Cougars. So it was the 6 a.m. practices. Right, exactly. The 6 a.m. practices and Tang's willingness to get better. But yeah, no names on the back of the jerseys. That was agreed upon between him and the players. Nate Johnson, Abdi Bashir both spoke in that press conference after the Houston game. They seemed a little bit more bubbly and optimistic moving forward. But as we had talked about that evening, Tang fired. Matt Driscoll, who did take over, said some very interesting things in the press conference following the Baylor game. Yeah. You're going to hear from him and how he actually credited his former boss, Jerome Tang. Let's take a listen.
Coach Tang and I and Coach Drew, 23 years ago, for 6 years, went through the most tumultuous college athletics situation that's ever happened. Flipped a program around from a murder in 5 years to the NCAA tournament, in 7 years to the Elite Eight. He is an amazing human being. We're the godparents to his daughter, who was born when we played Kansas.
So couple of things I want to unpack there.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing that he had said in that press conference. He set the table before he got into kind of the team and the players and all that. There are some fans sounding off on it and saying that he should have honored the kids, the guys in that moment. And there are some saying he was right to honor Tang. I personally feel that it was kind of an interesting moment to bring that up because you just won a game against Baylor. This group played their tails off. You had two young men that came out and combined for 67 points in a 90-plus point win. So I'm interested as to why he made that decision to sort of bring that up in the moment, but nonetheless chose to honor Tang. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like he was speaking his truth, and that's fair for him to have a say in what's going on, because he did mention at the beginning of the presser how he didn't come to K-State to be a head coach. He had no choice in this situation. He's been elevated to be interim right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of emotions, just like the players are going through emotions, and the players talked about their experience with Tang and how he was a great coach, and you even saw alumni also coming out saying the same. Now, granted, no, it's not good for Driscoll to start out his tenure as interim, potentially kind of rubbing some people the wrong way as far as the athletic department with the decision they just made about getting rid of Tang. But I do think that he had the right to tell his experience and his relationship with the coach that, was kind of let go in the midst of a really tough season. So I think comments outside, all put aside with the comments that Tang made about the players, I think Driscoll had the right to kind of share his experience with Tang.
Yeah, and he certainly did in that first half of it, and he's got himself quite the slate to wrap up the season. We do know that K-State's going to have a new head coach come next year, but Driscoll is, I believe, promised to finish out the rest of this season as an interim. Looking at their schedule right now, looking pretty tight. They got Texas Tech on the road, Colorado on the road. Colorado played Kansas pretty well earlier in the season. TCU at home, West Virginia at home, who they had lost to on the road, and then they wrap up their season in Lawrence against number 8 KU as part of this Sunflower Showdown, which should be interesting and a lot of fun. We'll be there at 1 o'clock on Saturday, March 7th. So this is kind of a challenging schedule for them. But right now, K-State, lots to talk about with their coaching situation. Do they pull it out the rest of the year into the Big 12 tournament with some surprises? Find out in Hot Topics. But we do got to talk about KU as well, because that's a team that is once again on fire. And I feel like every single day we come in here and talk about it, Kansas just keeps getting better with or without Darren Peterson.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it matters whether or not he takes the court anymore. I said it last week. I think this is an NCAA finalist championship team, and I think they're doing incredible. So, I mean, they just came off this big win over Oklahoma State, 81-69. The only loss they've had in over a month was number 5 Iowa State, and that's a tough road environment. So, I feel like reasonable. Other than that, they have been fighting hard, doing a great job. Peterson, he'll go in and give you the best 20 minutes you've ever seen in basketball. We know we kind of give it up on him playing full games, but 23 points in this one, 19 minutes he was on the floor. Bryson Tiller with a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds, and really every single guy on this roster is really doing a great job. I think Bill Self has a lot to look forward to when it comes to tournament time. They're already a lock into the NCAA tournament, so it's just a matter of their seeding and where they're going to end up. But as far as the Big 12 tournament and things like that, it's just really becoming a fun team to watch, and I'd really love to see them on that new glass court that we're going to get.
The LED glass court that they're going to get. Kansas has impressed me this season, especially with guys like Bryson Tiller and Elmarco Jackson, who really stepped up yesterday. Jackson with 14 points off the bench. And Badunga, known for his defense now, has made a couple of big-time plays in terms of, the in-air theatrics and the dunking. But his defense has been terrific inside the perimeter. So that's a big part of what's giving Kansas so much leverage. Bryson Tiller as well with 10 points. Trey White coming up big yesterday with 16 of his own.
Yeah.
Peterson obviously leading the pack there. But, as we talked about, whether he's there or whether he's not, he's going to give you, they'll figure it out. He'll give you valuable minutes when he's on the floor. So as it stands, I'm impressed. I'm excited for what's going to transpire in Lawrence coming up throughout the rest of the season. Oklahoma State took a beating yesterday, and Kansas was a big reason for that, and their offense and Bill Self and how it's been orchestrated. Not a whole lot of love, as I said on the air on Valentine's Day in Ames, but they quickly turned that ship around.
Yeah, they definitely did. So I'm excited for this KU team. They have, like you said, they have the players, they have the guys, and now it's just a matter of seeding, seeing if they can win out the remaining games. I know the schedule doesn't get easier. We've talked about how difficult the Big 12 is, but
Right.
I do want to touch on the situation with how K-State losing Jerome Tang might kind of give us a hint as to KU's postseason. Because the last 2 times that K-State let go of their head coach, KU was playing in the NCAA tournament championship. So I don't know if there's like maybe some correlation, connection, but every time K-State hits rock bottom, KU head straight to the top. So that, like I said last week, I think this is an NCAA championship team. I didn't know Jerome Tang was going to be fired after that. But I do want to say that might add to my prediction. Now, of course, that's just superstitions. We don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a very interesting thing. If you look back and see when Tang came in, and even before that, KU was dancing.
Yeah. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, but we will have an LED court. So
Right.
whatever comes out of that magic, we'll see. Tough schedule for them to finish out the season, too. I mean, Cincinnati coming up on Saturday, then at home versus number 2 Houston. They got to play Arizona again in Arizona, so that'll be a game. And then they're at ASU, and then they're, of course, at home versus K-State. So the 2 games that obviously stick out to me are 2 and 4. Houston, Arizona, back-to-back. Houston being a home game, Arizona being a road game. They're both 5 days apart to wrap up the month of February. They have traditionally rocked Lawrence, so I would not be surprised if next Monday night is a good game for the Jayhawks. The one that concerns me, though, is the one that's going to be in Tucson.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But Arizona's kind of been a little bit rocky. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like it's interesting to see how things have been going over there, because it seems like there's always those random upsets, and but it's definitely going to be a rematch. So Arizona's going to have a chip on their shoulder, but then on top of that, it's getting to crunch time. These teams really want to win out, and the Wildcats are going to have that home court advantage. So that's where things get tricky, is when you're finishing out your season on the road multiple times, you don't have that crowd and that advantage anymore. So I really do think, though, that KU hopefully has been battle tested enough, and they can really prove themselves. But I think the tournament really is what's going to show how this team competes when it comes to being under pressure, and it's kind of win or go home, basically.
Yeah.
Even though they're not going to be going home quite after the Big 12 tournament, but just that situation of tournament play, I think that's when we're really, really going to understand, 1, how often Peterson is going to be playing a role in the postseason, and then 2, how this team plays under that kind of pressure. Now, granted, I don't know how much they're going to risk Peterson playing on an experimental court at the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City with this glass LED color-changing floor that we've been talking about. Who knows if they're going to allow Peterson to play, but anyways, the rest of the team good enough to, hold it down when he's not there. We've seen that. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, how they perform then.
That is a concern. How much does he play in the tournament? If it is about seeding, maybe not as much if they already know they're a lock because they're ranked. Baba Miller and Cincinnati, that's a team that they're going to have to be very careful with because Cincy has surprised you a little bit so far this year. They're not one of those teams that you can just roll over and be done with. They have shown up when it matters, and I think that one will be a little bit tighter than what some folks anticipate. But I do want to focus on Houston, and I do want to focus on Arizona, specifically because of the fact that that game is in Tucson. I'm not trying to compare and say Iowa State and them are similar for the fact that, okay, now you got to play them on the road. That means you're going to lose. Doesn't necessarily equate, but there was a difference between KU's home game and KU's road game against Iowa State and Ames. Ames is a tough environment to be in. It's a tough environment to play in. But they were angry, Iowa State was, and they looked angry. They looked like they were saying, hey, you guys beat us by 20+ the last time we played you. That's not going to happen again. Do you think this Arizona game goes differently, knowing now that they're fired up about losing a very tight contest in which Melvin Council capped it off with a late dunk?
I absolutely think it will. It'll go different because Arizona suffered some tough losses lately, and on top of that, they're going to have that home court. So I do think that KU's going to have to come in firing even harder than they did when they went at home.
Right.
Because it's a different environment and stakes are getting higher. So I think it's going to be a tough battle, and it's really going to be telling to see which of these teams really is most consistent.
And Braden Burries and Koa Pete, two guys that we have had our eye on all year and will make a Final Four appearance, I can anticipate. And Burries has been successful. Jerry Westward watch list. He's not making those. He's not making those lists if he doesn't have talent. So clearly, huge scoring threats on the Wildcats side of Arizona. Houston's another team that I've got my eye on, but that one is at home, and we obviously know that Sampson could struggle with the Cougars in the environment of Lawrence. Last time a number 2 came to Lawrence, they got their butts kicked. That was Iowa State. So this is a situation where it could get a little bit more challenging.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but it's going to be a show that we're looking forward to. And of course, we'll be following all season long on KSN.
Yes, we will. But before we head out, we've got one more thing we got to dig into. And that, of course, is our hot topics, as we now bring you on double coverage every single week, debating the hottest discussions all across sports. And today, of course, we lead in with something that is near and dear to my heart. We've been talking about it quite a bit. Tyreek Hill. There are rumors that he could potentially make a comeback to Kansas City after his release on Miami earlier this week. Thoughts, Asia?
I don't think it'll be good for Tyreek Hill to return to Kansas City, and I don't think it's time for a reunion because you're not really looking for a wide receiver. The Chiefs have a lot of strength at wide receiver. They have Xavier Worthy. They have Rashee Rice. Granted, everything works out with both of those guys personally. But, I mean, they have the pieces. What the Chiefs need is a running back, and they need an O-line. They do not need a receiver. Tyreek Hill is going to take up a lot of cap space if he returns because he's a talented guy. And I think it would be fun. It would be nice to have that kind of reunion, but reunions don't always work out. We were very lucky with Kareem Hunt. I don't think we need Tyreek Hill enough to bring him back quite yet.
I'm in agreement with you on there. I think wide receiver is not a position that they focus on too intensely right now, especially because of the fact that he's 31 years old.
Right.
He's lost his explosiveness a little bit. The money is going to be there. I mean, he is fast. He's the fastest guy, I think, in the league, was at a point in time. He's been battling a lot of injuries. And the Chiefs do need that depth at the guard and tackle position. They had something going with Juwan Taylor. Wanye Morris gets hurt. They've got to focus on protecting Patrick Mahomes. And they just restructured his contract this week. I mean, they need money. They have to play the field a little bit. And if they're going to go after free agents, it's got to be somebody that makes sense. And for me, Tyreek Hill, not quite meeting that requirement. But
yeah.
It would be cool to see him back.
And I'm curious to see who he visited when he went up to Kansas City this past week.
And we know Chris Jones was calling it out on Twitter. He said, Cheetah, it's time, with the watch emoji.
Yeah. You can want it all you want, but that doesn't mean you need it.
I do want Chris Jones on my team, though.
That's what my I've been trying to work on finances lately, and they said don't get it if you want it, only get it if you need it. And I don't think they need Tyreek Hill.
I don't think they need him either. I think it'd be cool though to see him in a uniform.
Right.
It'd be cool to see him back in a Chiefs uniform. Not quite the need right now, but we'll see. I don't know. The Hunt family, Brett Veach, they've done some cool stuff before, and they've done cap gymnastics and all that. So we'll see how that plays out. Should be fascinating. We will keep an eye on if Hill becomes a Chief again. K-State, on the other hand, maybe this is more impossible. Do they turn this season around under Driscoll?
I think that things will definitely start to get better, but I'm not sure if we'll get a full turnaround. Their schedule doesn't get quite easier. I know we have to see them go against number 13 Texas Tech, Colorado, TCU, West Virginia, and Kansas. Now, I don't think they're going to necessarily win out, but I do think they're going to be playing with a lot more fire, a lot more passion, in honor of Coach Tang and in honor of Driscoll, and wanting to do better for each other. And I think they have a lot more freedom, without their head coach anymore. It's kind of playing how they want to play. I think we're going to see a different K-State team, and I do think they're going to do a lot better moving forward. I'll say maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say give them 2 out of the remaining 5 games minimum that they are going to win, and I think it's going to be a little bit more peaceful ending of the season.
I'm not going to take 35 seconds for my answer. The answer is no. I don't think it happens.
He doesn't even need the time.
I don't need the time. I don't think it's going to happen. I hate to be that guy, but right now there's been a lot of structural issues within that program. I think they need to focus on their national search for their next coach.
Yeah.
Finish out the year strong. But I think when we're talking about NCAA tournament, we're kind of getting a little bit into that territory of dream on. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I don't want to be harsh because I like the guys on this team.
You're being honest.
I like the guys on this team. I like PJ. I like Nate Johnson. Abdi Bashir is hurt, but when he was playing, he was on fire for a good portion of the season. They have a lot of potential, but right now, just not their time.
Yeah.
It's not their time.
But
right
we
now.
look forward to how things go next season, for sure.
We absolutely do. And we look forward to seeing you next Thursday on another episode of Double Coverage. That concludes it for us today. We'll see you back here next week. Same place, same time. Thanks so much for listening.